Merhabalar. Her hafta olduğu gibi yine ülkenin ifade özgürlüğü gündemiyle karşınızdayız. Maalesef yine verebileceğimiz güzel bir haber bulamadık. Konser iptalleri, yasaklar, gözaltılar, davalar ve cezalar yine hiç eksik olmadı. İşte bizim gözümüzden bir haftanın özeti.
The concerts of Iranian artist Mohsen Namju, who was targeted for allegedly writing songs from the verses of the Quran, were cancelled in Konya, Bursa and Van after the campaign initiated by the Defense of Islam movement and the Religious Affairs and Foundation Workers Union chairman Mustafa Çopursuz. Responding to the allegations after the concerts were cancelled, Namju said, "I've never mocked or humiliated the Quran, which has always been my inspiration. I am neither atheist nor godless."
The concert of artist İlkay Akkaya, organized in Şanlıurfa on September 25, was banned by the government on the grounds of the protection of national security and public order.
The indictment prepared against the members and administrators of the Migration Monitoring Association was accepted by the Istanbul 26th Assize Court. Within the scope of the lawsuit, 23 people, 16 of whom were imprisoned, including Migration Monitoring Association co-chairs Kamile Kandal and Mehmet Boğakan, were charged with terrorist organization membership due to the activities of the association between 2012 and 2015 and the statements made and the reports prepared, stating that the association activities were against the state and that they put Turkey in a difficult situation in the international arena. The prosecutor requested a total prison sentence against the defendants for up to 350 years.
A lawsuit was filed against 19 people on the grounds that they did not stand up while the national anthem was being sung during the Ahmetspor Pendikspor soccer game played on May 7 in Diyarbakır. In the one-page indictment accepted by the Diyarbakır 13th Criminal Court of First Instance, Ahmetspor fans were charged with publicly insulting the national anthem. However, lawyer Veysel Kaya announced that the court had issued a verdict acquittal for the defendants without a hearing. On the other hand, it was learned that a lawsuit was filed against 8 people who did not stand up during the national anthem in the match between Ahmetspor and Konyaspor played on November 21, 2021. The hearing of the case opened on the same charge will be held on October 28 at the Diyarbakır 5th Criminal Court of First Instance.
A lawsuit was filed against 16 of those detained at the commemoration event held in Istanbul last July for those who lost their lives in the Suruç massacre on charges of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations and resisting to prevent duty. The first hearing of the lawsuit will be held on January 25th at the Istanbul Anatolian 69th Criminal Court of First Instance.
Istanbul Kağıthane District Governorate declared a one-day ban on protests throughout the district, citing the press statement to be made before the lawsuit filed against those detained at the meeting of the Saturday Mothers, who have been holding a sit-in protest at Galatasaray Square since 1995. Intervening the statement in front of the Çağlayan courthouse, the police battered 16 people, including lawyers and rights defenders, and detained them. The case against the Saturday Mothers and 46 rights defenders at Istanbul 21st Criminal Court of First Instance on the charge of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations has been adjourned to February 3.
Before the hearing of the trial of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, who was accused of insulting the members of the Supreme Electoral Council due to a statement on the cancellation of the local elections on March 31, 2019, Kartal District Governorate held a gathering at the Istanbul Anatolian Courthouse. It banned press statements and demonstration marches on the grounds of possible deterioration of public order and public well-being. The case against İmamoğlu at the Istanbul Anatolian 7th Criminal Court of First Instance has been adjourned to November 11th.
Lawyer Sezin Uçar was banned from her duty as a lawyer for a period of 1 year. In the decree of the Bursa 2nd Criminal Judicature of Peace, 2 separate cases filed against Uçar for protesting the October 10 massacre and for attending the funerals of his clients who lost their lives were cited as reasons.
Mohammed Isse Abdullah, the owner of a restaurant named Saab in Kızılay, which is in Ankara's Çankaya district, was detained after having been subjected to racist harassment and police pressure. Abdullah was decided to be deported and was sent to Akut deportation center.
26th week of the Justice Watch protest, which is held every week in Istanbul to draw attention to the situation of ill prisoners. The group was prevented by the police and 7 people were detained.
The police intervened against the group during the release of 3 Furkan Foundation volunteers imprisoned in Osmaniye and detained 14 people, 2 of whom had just been released.
The police intervened in the press statement of the People's Democratic Party, Esenyurt district organization, demanding education in mother tongue. 9 people were beaten and detained.
Known for its hateful publications, pro-government newspaper Akit Daily targeted Cumhuriyet Daily writer Zülal Kalkandelen due to an article she wrote titled "Sharia Took the Life of Another Woman" about Mahsa Amini, who was murdered by the morality police in Iran because her hair was showing through her headscarf.
Free Muse, freedom of musical expression, recorded the violations of artistic freedom of expression worldwide with the report The State of Artistic Freedom 2022. The report detected more than 1,200 violations of artistic freedom of expression worldwide, and Turkey remained at the top of the list in many violations. Turkey is by far the leader of the world with 160 violations cases in the report. 119 artists were arrested in 24 countries in 2021, and Turkey ranked second with 19 artists after Belarus, which is the leader with 25 names. 133 artists were prosecuted in 34 countries in a year, and Turkey is by far the leader in this regard with 49 artists. 31 of the artists, most of whom were prosecuted on charges of terrorism and insulting a public official, were charged due to their artistic activities, 18 for their protests or social media posts.
The final hearing of the trial regarding the murder of journalist Musa Anter on September 20th, 1992 in Diyarbakir was held at the Ankara 6th Assize Court. The court did not accept the lawyer's request that the case be handled within the scope of crime against humanity in the Turkish Criminal Code and decided that the file be abated due to the statute of limitations. Thus, despite the existence of the Turkish National Intelligence and Susurluk report, the confessions, the conviction decree of the European Court of Human Rights, as well as the existence of serious evidence showing that the murder was committed with the knowledge of state officials, another state-induced murder in the 90s was left unpunished.
The Istanbul governor prevented the investigation against police officers who battered and detained the journalists during the protest demonstration organized on May 31, upon the call of Taksim Solidarity on the occasion of the 9th anniversary of the Gezi Park protests. In the letter sent to the prosecutor's office, the governor claimed that the police officers could not be identified. Therefore, the governor decided that there was no need to initiate a disciplinary investigation and that the file should be removed from legal proceedings.
In the application of 19 people who were convicted of making propaganda for a terrorist organization, insulting and organizing unlawful meetings and demonstration marches due to the thoughts they expressed in various ways or the protests they participated in, and whose sentences were deferred, the Constitutional Court decided that the deferment of the announcement of the verdict was decided against the freedom of expression and assembly of the citizens. It ruled that it caused a violation of the right to demonstrate. The High Court stated that the decrees of deferment exerted a heavy and completely arbitrary pressure on fundamental rights, and that with these decisions the court systematically ignored almost all the principles of the right to a fair trial and abused procedural safeguards, pointing out that the legislator should review the relevant regulation.
The Constitutional Court ruled that Gülsüm Ervan's right to avoid ill treatment was violated since her arm was broken due to the wearing reverse handcuffs, and she was detained during the protest she attended. The High Court ruled 20,000 Turkish liras compensation to be paid to Elvan, further stating that the investigation, which concluded with non-prosecution, should be reopened.
In the application of prisoner Mustafa Koca at Sincan Type T prison after his access to Evrensel Daily was prevented by the prison administration, the Constitutional Court ruled that there was no violation of freedom of expression, stating, "There are 1,800 newspapers you can buy. It's fine if you don't read Evrensel Daily."
Bu hafta adliye mesaimiz yine bir hayli yoğundu. Az önce detaylarını verdiğimiz cumartesi annelerinin ve Ekrem İmamoğlu'nun yargılandığı davalar dışında çok sayıda davada onlarca yurttaş yine mahkemedeydi. İşte bu hafta takibini yaptığımız ifade özgürlüğü davalarından seçtiklerimiz.
The first hearing was held in the lawsuit filed against the groom, 9 people and 3 musicians who took the stage at the wedding after they were arrested for singing Kurdish songs and for wearing shawls in yellow, red and green motifs at the wedding held on July 12 in the Esenyurt district of Istanbul on charges of terrorist organization membership and making propaganda for a terrorist organization. The Istanbul 28th Assize Court decided to release 10 people detained within the scope of the file and adjourned the hearing to January 19th.
Journalist Nurcan Yalçın, who was charged with willfully aiding a terrorist organization due to the interviews she made during the curfews in Diyarbakır Sur district, was sentenced to 2 years and 6 months in prison in the lawsuit filed against her at Diyarbakır Fourth Assize Court.
Yeni Yaşam Daily reporter Hatice Şahin, who was charged due to her professional activities, was sentenced to 6 years and 3 months in prison in the lawsuit filed against her at the Diyarbakır 9th Assize Court.
Kurdish newspaper Webun Daily's owner Kadri Esen was sentenced to 1 year and 3 months in prison in the first hearing of the lawsuit filed against him on the charge of making propaganda for a terrorist organization based on a photo he shared in social media. The sentence was deferred.
The first hearing of the lawsuit filed against Feleknaz Aslan, who wore a yellow, red and green shawl during the Nowruz celebration, was held at the Hatay 3rd Assize Court. Sentencing Aslan to 10 months in prison, the court commuted her prison sentence to a fine of 6,000 Turkish liras. The trial of Şahide Orman Özek, who was tried in the same court for the same reason, was adjourned to December 1st. In the latest hearing of the case on June 28th, the court had sentenced Özek's 67-year-old mother, Menci Orman, to 10 months in prison for allegedly committing the crime of making propaganda for a terrorist organization by waving a yellow, red and green shawl, and decided to defer the announcement of the verdict.
The first hearing of the lawsuit filed against journalists Can Bursalı, Barış Terkoğlu, and independent Turkish editor-in-chief Nevzat Çiçek on charges of insult and slander upon the complaint of President Erdogan's former lawyer Mustafa Doğan Ünal was held at Istanbul Second Criminal Court of First Instance. The trial of journalists charged due to the interview made by Bursalı regarding the allegations against Ünal in the book titled Metastas to Cendere, published on the website of Independent Turkey on December 3, 2020, and written by Terkoğlu, will continue on January 26.
The lawsuit filed against 103 retired admirals who were charged with consenting to commit crimes against the constitutional order due to the statement in which they drew attention to the importance of the Montreux Convention continued at the Ankara 20th Assize Court. The hearing in which the prosecutor, who was expected to present an opinion on the merits, did not attend due to health problems, was adjourned to October 7th.
The prosecution of 4 students who protested for their imprisoned friends and were detained due to carrying a rainbow flag, as well as of 8 students who were detained while protesting the detainment of their friends, continued at the Istanbul 24th Criminal Court of First Instance on the charge of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations. Accepting the prosecutor's request for additional time to prepare his opinion on the merits, the court adjourned the hearing to November 22.
The trial of 23 people who are charged with violating the law number 2911 on meetings and demonstrations and resisting to prevent duty for participating in the support demonstration for the Boğaziçi University protests held in Kadıköy in February continued at the Istanbul 38th Anatolian Criminal Court of First Instance. The next hearing will be held on November 8th.
The trial of 7 rights defenders who were charged with violating the law on meetings and demonstrations law for participating in the 2021 Istanbul LGBTQI+ Pride Parade continued at Istanbul 18th Criminal Court of First Instance. The next hearing will be held on January 13.
The trial of People's Democratic Party's former parliament member Sırrı Süreyya Önder, who was charged with insulting the state for his statement within the scope of an investigation and a speech at the protest regarding the arrest of People's Democratic Party parliament members, continued at the Diyarbakir 4th Criminal Court of First Instance. The next hearing will be held on November 9th.
The lawsuit filed against 17 women on charge of insulting the president and violating the law on meetings and demonstrations for chanting slogans during the Feminist Night March held in Taksim, Istanbul on March 8, 2021, continued at the Istanbul 10th Criminal Court of First Instance. The next hearing will be held on December 23.
Programımıza sığdırabildiğimiz davalar bunlar oldu. Daha fazlası her zaman olduğu gibi internet sitemizde ve haftalık bültenimizde. Yeniden görüşünceye değin, hoşça kalın.